Welcome friends. Today I am going to start a video on MCQ for the exam NET and SET. The first one. What is the remark made by critic Hudson about the 15th century or Dark Age? The answer is little enough to inspire, much to repress literary genius. Next, who is the first great modern literary critic? The answer is Sir Philip Sidney, the writer of Arcadia and Apology for Poetry. Next, Ben Jonson commented on Shakespeare that he knew small Latin and less Greek. Next, mention the name of two contemporary actors of William Shakespeare. The answer is first one is William Kemp and second one is Richard Burbage. Next, Lord Chamberlain's Company. This is the name of a drama company. It was renamed later. And what was the new name? The answer is King's Men. Next, first folio of the drama of William Shakespeare was published by whom? The answer is John Hemmings and Henry Condell. It was published in 1623. The full title of the folio was Mr. Shakespeare's Comedies, Histories and Tragedies. In Elizabethan theatre, flag was used for advertisement. White flag was used for the symbol of comedy, red flag for history play, and black flag was used for what? The answer is tragedy. Next, who is the bridge between Renaissance and Reformation? The answer is Edmund Spenser. Edmund Spenser was born in 1552 and died in 1599. Edmund Spenser was called poet's poet. By whom? The answer is Charles Lamb. Induction was published in 1563. And who was the writer of that induction? The answer is Thomas Sackville. Next, Still Glass. It was published in 1576. It was first regular verse satire. Who is the writer? The answer is George Gascoigne. With the publication of Edmund Spenser's Shepherd's Calendar in 1576, a remarkable era began. And what is that era called? The answer is the Golden Age. Next, the Well of English Undefiled. This is a comment. Who said this and about whom? The answer is Edmund Spenser said this about Chaucer, Geoffrey Chaucer. In Elizabethan age, who is considered as the greatest non-dramatic poet? The answer is Edmund Spenser. Means he was a Cambridge educated person. Next, who is the greatest dramatic poet of Elizabethan England? The answer is William Shakespeare. Now, a quotation. In miserable exile among a lawless people whom he loathed, who said it and about whom? The answer is Hudson remarked it of Spenser's life in Ireland. Next information. Walter Raleigh colonized Virginia and gave the Newfoundland the New World, which is called America. Who is the writer of Art of English Poesy, published in 1589? The answer is George Puttenham, and this book is a literary criticism. Holinshed's Chronicle was published in which year? The answer is 1577. Writer of the Chronicle is Raphael Holinshed. It is written in prose form. Trevelyan criticized Elizabethan period and he said, England ceases to be the anvil, became the hammer. Hearing or listening the talent of a lady, James one remark. What was that remark? The answer is, but can she spin? Francis Bacon wrote essay on education. It was a gift of tribute or praise. To whom? The answer is James the First. Who is the writer of Anatomy of Melancholy, published in 1621? The answer is Robert Burton. Who is the writer of Characters of Virtues and Vices, published in 1608? The answer is Joseph Hall. In which year the History of the Holy War published? The answer is 1639. The writer is Thomas Fuller. Next, Diversion upon Emergent Occasion, published in 1624. Who is the writer? The answer is John Donne. Two brothers, Phineas Fletcher and Giles Fletcher, they wrote a collection of poems. The name of the collection is Sorrow's Joy. It was published in 1603. This is the very year James I came on the throne, in 1603, and Jacobean age began. Next, what kind of play the Hamlet is? The answer is a revenge tragedy. Who wrote Women Beware Women? The answer is John Webster. He also wrote The White Devil, Duchess of Malfi. The character Bossola came in the play The Duchess of Malfi. Ben Jonson was a favorite to James I, and Ben Jonson became England's first poet laureate in 1616. Friends, previously I told you John Skelton was the first poet laureate. Here another coming, Ben Jonson. He was also called the first poet laureate. But these two poet laureates were unofficial, because in that time the poet laureate, this post was not created. Only they were provided pension or scholarship. But first official poet laureate is John Dryden. John Dryden was appointed officially as poet laureate in 1668 by Charles II, and it is much later, 1668. Near about 80 years difference. Next, I am telling you a quotation. Drink to me only with thine eyes. Who is the writer of this line? The answer is Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson. He wrote also the epitaph. And what is that epitaph? The answer is O rare Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson's first play is The Case is Altered, published in 1597. Ben Jonson wrote also Every Man in His Humour. In 1598, he wrote Every Man Out of His Humour. He wrote Volpone or Volpone. It was published in 1605. He wrote Alchemist, The Alchemist, Epicon, The Bartholomew Fair, etc. He translated Horace's Ars Poetica, and he gave the title Art of Poetry. He wrote also Poet Stars, where he satirizes Marston and Thomas Dekker. In collaboration with Thomas Nash, he wrote a book. And what is the name? The answer is The Isle of Dogs in 1597. For this book, both of them were imprisoned. Eastward Ho. It was written in response to dash. Westward Ho. Westward Ho was written by Decker and Webster. Decker and Webster also wrote Northward Ho. Next, who is the wittiest or wisest of the Jacobean playwrights? The answer is Francis Beaumont. Beaumont went to Cambridge University. Who is the writer of A Woman Killed with Kindness? And he also is the writer of Apology for Actors. Who is the writer? The answer is Thomas Heywood. Thomas Heywood, in his Apology for Actors, he confirms that Thomas Kyd was the author of Spanish tragedy. Spanish tragedy is revenge tragedy, revenge play. Next, who is called Dickens of Elizabethan age? The answer is Thomas Dekker. Thomas Dekker wrote The Honest Whore. That means the honest prostitute. And what is the name of the prostitute? The answer is Bella Front. Name of the prostitute is Bella Front. He wrote another book, The Roaring Girl. In this book, the girl was a pickpocket and her name was Mary Frith. Next, who is the writer of A Showmaker's Holiday? The answer is Thomas Dekker. And the idea of this book was borrowed from whom? The answer is Thomas Delany. Who is the writer of A Game of Chess? The answer is Thomas Middleton. This book, The Game of Chess, is an anti-Spanish theme. It is written on an anti-Spanish theme. Next, which theme or what is called the mother of all archetypes? Or what is called the archetype of all archetypes? The answer is Death and Rebirth theme. The theme Death and Rebirth is called the mother of all archetypes. Who is the writer of Religio Medici? The answer is Thomas Browne. Another title of this book is A Doctor's Religion. It was published in 1642. This book is an attempt to combine Christian theology and ethics with scientific precepts. Thomas Browne wrote also another book. The name of the book is Pseudodoxia Epidemia. This book was published in 1646. He wrote also the Hydropathia. The another title of Hydropathia is Urn Burial, published in 1658. This Hydropathia or Urn Burial is a detailed report, that is scientific report, of the various funeral urn discovered near Norwich. It is a combination or mixture of history and science. It is concluded with a magnificent essay on death. Next, mention some name of Cavalier poets. The answer is Thomas Carew, John Suckling, John Cleveland, Richard Lovelace, Robert Herrick, George Wither, and George Drummond. Now I am telling a quotation. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron walls a cage. From which poem this line is taken? The answer is To Althea from Prison. And this poem is written by whom? The answer is Richard Lovelace. And this poem was published in 1642. James Shirley, a dramatist from Jacobean to Caroline to Restoration period. Charles Lamb called him the last of a great race. Thank you. Hope to see you in the next video.